In this video we're going to paint these two puffins. You're going to need the photograph itself. I'm using Archer's 300-gram cold pressed paper, 100% cotton. I just like the way that you get some really lovely washes with it, and it's very good for edge control, and it keeps wetter for longer as well. So I find it's more predictable, less temperamental than cheaper paper. You're less likely to get blooms and that kind of thing. I've got some rock salt here for some effects when we come to create the rocks that the puffins are sitting on. Just a pencil, a gel pen to add a little bit of reflected light in the eye at the end. I'm only going to use one brush. This is a Sea White of Brighton brush, synthetic, size 12. Some kitchen tissue, 4 colours. These 3 are Winsor & Newton Professional Range, Winsor Blue, Quinacridone Magenta, Winsor Lemon. The Winsor Blue, sorry, is green shade. The black, I tend to use Winsor & Newton Cotman Range, Lamp Black. I find it's a bit more predictable than the professional range, and a nice big plastic palette and a jar for my water. Right, we'll get started. Initially what I'm going to do is just lighten some of these marks here with an eraser, because I don't want this to show when these colours flood. Now, with the exception of the beak, most of these colours are desaturated. In other words, they're just a mixture of all 3 primaries. And so really, I'm just going to look for the lightest colours here. And I'm going to start here with the breasts of the birds. And I can see blues, maybe a little bit of violety pink in there. And I'm going to mix those colours first. So I'm going to start with quite a clean blue and add some pink into it. That's a nice colour. And now I want to make these kind of like more desaturated pinky purple colours. And to desaturate them, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. If it goes green, then just put more pink in. And that's given me quite a nice run of colours for my shadows. And what I'm going to do now is apply water to the whole of this area. Although I am going to leave this little bit here clean of water or devoid of water, just to capture that light. So I've popped my water in. Now I'm going to put my lightest colour in, which is blue. Drop it into the pinkier colours here. And then into the more desaturated colours down here. Now remember, this will dry lighter than what you expect. I'm just going to soften this edge here. I'm going to get a bit of blue and a tiny bit of black to make a desaturated blue. I'll pop a bit of pink in there just to warm it up. So it's more of an indigo now, and just drop some of those in here while it's still damp and get some nice soft edges. So whilst that's settling down, I'm going to look for the lightest shades that are in the black, and it's just a really pale grey. So I'm going to grab some black and mix it with blue and magenta to make a really nice rich black. And then I'm going to use a watery version of that to get my real light black. I'm going to apply a very pale wash of grey to the whole of this. Now I'm getting my thicker black, making it a little bit thicker actually. And I'm just going to dob it in, just tentatively at first, just to have a look at the spread. I'm doing it really in an area where it doesn't matter. And then now start applying more liberally. I'm conscious that I want to leave this area clear, so I'm only going in slowly. And again, I'm going a little bit more cautiously here because I want to maintain some lights here. I'm using my tissue to regulate the amount of water and pigment on my brush. Some more hints of blue in this bit, so I'm just going for the bluer black. And you can see why you want it to be wet, because you really want that lovely spread and those gorgeous soft edges. And here it's starting to dry up because you can see hard edges appearing. So I'm just going to re-wet this area. It's a really warm day today, so I'm not entirely surprised. Now nice and thick down here. That's too blue, so I'm just going to add some black and some magenta to that. It goes a little bit warmer, so I'm adding a little bit more magenta here. I'm just trying to keep my blacks interesting, really. Looking at the face, I really want to do these kind of colours, but maybe slightly darker. So I'm just going to reactivate this mix here that I started with. Now I'm going to apply water to the face. So I'm looking for my cleanest, kind of lightest colour first, which is this kind of pinkish colour. And onto the blues. Whilst I've got the blues out, then I may as well do the other puffin. So I'll do the chest first. I want to have quite a nice soft edge here, so I'm going to add water to the whole of this. I am going to create a hard shadow shape there. So I'm leaving this little bit here dry. Just watching that spread there, making sure it doesn't become uncontrollable, and I'm actually going to try and encourage it just to go a little bit more uphill. Now I'm going to get the face and the rest of the black done on this bird on the left. cutting around this because I don't want the black to run into the face because the face is still damp. I should have done that blue first before the black, but I forgot, so I'll have to drop it in later. And whilst that's drying, I'm going to put a second layer on this bird here. I'm going to work wet onto dry, so my paper's dry. Just going over with the same colours that are already on my palette. Don't want to lose my lights here, so I'm just going in very gingerly here so that I don't lose them. Just introduce a little bit more blue there, just for a bit of variety. Just make some loose marks. So I'm really just hinting at feathers here. I'm not painting every feather exactly. Put a little bit of blue just up there, and again I don't want to lose all of that light, so I'm only taking it part of the way down. It's going to strengthen some of the tones in the back puffin. So next I want to concentrate on the beak. So I'm going to mix up some really nice bright oranges. So for bright orange, it's essential that you've got no blue on your palette and no blue in your water. I'm just going to grab yellow and the magenta. And just mix up some different kinds of oranges. So just yellow and magenta, but just varying the proportions to get different colours. Put some in the eye around there. What I'm going to do now is just make up some rich blues and some neutral colours for this part of the beak. This is all dry now, and what I've done is I've just put some little pencil marks in the eyes just to indicate where the pupils are, because it's difficult to work out, and so I've just done that. What I'm going to do next is paint the eyes and then just start adjusting any of the tones that I think need adjusting, like on the beak. They could do with being a little bit more impactful. I'm going to use my size 12 brush because it's got a reasonable point on the end. I'm now just going to pop a second layer on parts of this beak. Just popping a couple of glazes over some of these areas just to make them pop a little bit. And now what we're going to do is a background, and for that I'm going to need some fresh clean water. So first of all I'm going to mix these colours. They're like bluey green colours, so blue, yellow. Just desaturate them with a little bit of pink, a bit more yellow. Let's make some green ones as well. Now I'm going to add water to the background. It's not very clean. Well, my brush is dirty now, but not to worry. Now I'm going to start dropping these colours on. Now I'm just going to let that dry and come back to it afterwards and get the bottom section in. So now I'm going to make up a nice sandy rocky colour, so make a bit of a brownish colour, pop a bit of blue into that, a bit more pink. That's not a bad colour actually, and actually I want some darker versions of that as well, so I'm going to make another brown out of yellow and magenta, add some blue, but this time it's going to be thicker. Maybe add a little bit of black as well. And this is where I'm going to add some salt just for some texture in a minute. First of all, I'm going to apply the lighter colour. I'm deliberately leaving some little pockets of white. I don't know if it'll work or not. Might look too bright, but don't know unless you try. Again, it's very warm, so I'm just mindful to keep this very damp and work quickly with it. Now I'm going to pop my thicker blobs on, just following the picture as to where the thick colours are roughly. And I've run out of it, so I'm going to make myself some more up. So it's all 3 primaries and a bit of black. I think it needs to be a little bit thicker than that, actually. I'm literally just dabbing the brush onto the paper and letting the water just carry it through into different parts. But it does need to be really quite damp for this to work, otherwise you'll start getting hard edges. It's debatable really whether I need any salt. I will pop some in, but to be honest, I quite like it as it is. But I'll pop a little bit of salt on and see what happens. Just sprinkling it onto the damp paint. I'm wary of it looking too busy, you see, that's my hesitation. Just going to add a tiny little bit of white to this eye here, bit of reflected light. Whilst that's drying, I'm just going to put a little bit of a turquoisey glaze on the background whilst it's drying. Look at the richness that turquoise glaze gives the background. It really does bring it to life. I'm just going to take off the masking tape, and here is the finished piece. I've got rid of the salt, and actually the effects are quite subtle. I quite like it. I was a bit worried, as I said earlier, about it being a little bit busy, and I'm glad I put the additional glaze on the background. It has dulled down again actually, but it did need to be a little bit more impactful. I really hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial.